All right, well, I think I'm on. Okay, so good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to my studio. My name is Jessica Henry, and today I have kind of a fun little project. I'm going to be working on these peaches. I'm in my studio, and occasionally I do plein air, and I'm out and about. Sometimes I just in my studio working on a still life, or from photographs, working on commissions. So today was rainy, so I decided to do this. So what I have here going before I launch into the painting, I'll show you what I have. And I just rest this on my palette, or excuse me, my palette on my lap. I actually made this palette, and if you go to my website, I sell these. They're really just beautiful palettes. I have my linseed oil right here. And Larry from Ireland was asking if how to use the linseed, when to use it, and so forth. And Larry, if you're watching, let me know. Otherwise, I will answer your email, but in this video today, I'm going to answer more of that on here as I am painting. So I have, for paints today, I just have out titanium white, cad yellow pale, yellow ochre, if you can see that, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, phthalo green, alizarin crimson. I did have a little bit of cobalt out from the other day. I'm not going to use it. And then over here, I just have a little bit of the cadmium red. All right, so, and I also, for materials, today I have Gamsol, and I keep it in this little container. And there's a little basket in here, which is, I love this little thing. So all the sediments collect down here, and then this is all clean and clear up there. Okay, so I set up my peaches here. I've got north light just sort of filtering in through the window. It's really pretty. And I thought about doing artificial light on these peaches, like closing all this light off and then just using a light bulb. But there's just something with peaches and that natural light that I find is so much prettier. So I'm going to jump in, and I will talk about what I'm working on while I'm working on it. I hope that you can still see those peaches, and I'll stay back. So to begin a painting, this is linen, and I stretch this. It's just Clausen's triple oil primed Belgian linen, and I toned it with sort of a yellow ochre burnt sienna combination, and then I always kind of splatter a little bit because I like that texture on there. So I did this a few days ago, so it's completely dry, and I'll just take, what is this, a size 2 filbert. It doesn't matter what shape it is, I just go with something smallish. And then I'm going to just get into something dark. So I'll take burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. You know, I'm going to hold this so you can see a little bit of what I'm doing. There's a glare on it, but I'll talk about what I'm doing while I'm doing it. Okay, so I just take the burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and with this inky mixture that I'm going to use, and at this point, I'm only using the Gamsol. I do not get into the oil yet. In fact, I'm just going to unclip this because it seems like it's splashing all over. All right, so just getting an inky mixture here of that. I'm going to make some of those major decisions on my canvas at this point. Where my peaches are going to live inside these 4 boundaries is my first element of composition that I need to consider. So obviously I don't want them too big or too small or right in the center. I like the arrangement, how they kind of go up like this. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. What's pleasing, what sort of distance is pleasing from the edge. So I make little marks. I think the top peach should be about over there. And if they were about this size, that might be interesting. And this comes down around. If I make this one overlapping this one, that might be interesting there. And then this guy, just thinking about where the bottoms are going to be in relation to the bottom of the canvas. I like to have a little bit more tabletop here so that it feels more you know, like they're set back from the table. And this guy, let's see, just kind of, you can see I just hold the brush really loosely because at this point, I'm not committed to this. I'm not married to this idea. You know what? I'm going to do one thing real quick here. This peach, I want right there. Because with the light coming in this way, I think it looks more interesting that way. So I'm gonna just wipe that one off and rearrange it. That easy. What is life but all about painting and tweaking things as you go. So that being the case, I'm going to move this whole pile over a little bit. I think it reads better with the light coming in this way to have sort of that crescendo effect. So I think this feels better here as I start relaying that information that way. Oh, I feel much better about that. Yeah, I like that. And so again, I'm thinking about the distance there. I like the scale of everything within this canvas. I don't know if I mentioned it's an 11 by 14, the size here. Okay, kind of just tucking those all into each other. Like that. So one thing I'm not sure about with these YouTube live videos, I've done Facebook live videos for 8 months now and have a blast with it, but so I'm starting to do these on YouTube, and I'm not sure on these live videos if you guys are actually able to comment. I can't see them, so if they're there, I will get to your comments when I'm done with the filming. So there's that. I've been sharing all of my Facebook Live videos onto YouTube, and I just really enjoy that. Doing these little videos just is such a kick, and I've gotten to know some of you people, and now I have new friends here on YouTube, and it's pretty cool. It's nice to see you guys out there and to be able to help. However, we're all in this journey together, and sometimes you guys give me good feedback, and it's nice. It's nice to hear from you. I'm looking at where these little stem things are in these peaches. Just kind of thinking about the anatomy at this point, where they're going to go. And this line comes down like this. This one has this really neat. So that's kind of interesting how all these little peachy lines come together. I think that's okay. This one comes over here like this. And I like how he's further back. He's gonna be taller. All right, and then the little point of the peach is right there. This guy's just kind of just thinking about the shape too. Peaches have such a distinctive shape to them that I want to make sure that I just don't go meaningless circles. So I like that. Okay. Now, with my dark still, I think I'll just take a little bit of the burnt sienna and some alizarin crimson, and I'm going to map out where the shadows are just to give start giving it some strength. So on this one, this is my anchor peach. This one's going to get more of that. If this is a song, that's where it stops. So I want to make sure that this has a nice strong feeling of right there. And I can mix in a little bit of ultramarine blue with that to create a stronger shadow. And the cast shadow goes back that way. I like that. And then this one has the nice strong, as it comes up. Yeah, that's all showing. This. I can't wait to get that fuzz on there. I love that peach fuzz. And whenever I'm painting grapes or water or anything that has multiple layers, and in this case peach fuzz, I always compare all of those different elements together, water, grapes, because what you have is you have one color underneath a surface, and then you glaze or scumble another thing over the top. So, you know, when I paint water, it's the same idea. You have the color of whatever's happening underneath the surface of the water, and then you have the ripples on top, and the sparkles and shine of the water on top of the water. So it's just a way that I've kind of simplified and boiled all of that down to just a couple steps. Taking something complex, and you can make it pretty simple by just Here's one color underneath, and then we're going to glaze something over the top. I say glaze, I really just kind of mean scumble or layer over the top. Glazing as a medium, as a painting technique is a different process than what I'm talking about. That involves different kinds of mediums and solvents and whatever. So thinking about this anatomy, I think I have that dark shadow on that one going too high. Just want to pull it down a little. All right, and then this guy back here. Keeping my brushwork really loose. I don't want to really, commit to strong, solid brushwork quite yet. And this guy gets a shadow. Keeping my shadows a little bluer. In this situation here, because my lighting is north light, it's natural lighting from the window, it is very cool, very bluish. So that means all of my lighting on these peaches is going to be cool. My shadows are going to tend to be warmer. You always have to have one or the other. If you're lighting, if you're using, an incandescent bulb or whatever, sometimes your model is set up and you have no choice. Your light's going to be warm, then your shadows are going to be cooler, bluer tones. Same thing in this situation where I have the, it can never be warm highlights, warm shadows. It has to be one or the other. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to I totally cleaned my brush off, and I just wiped it a little bit off. I'm just going to clean up some of these edges. And where I'm thinking ahead of time now of where I'm going to want to lose edges in this painting, in the storytelling. It doesn't matter what I'm painting, you always have to have a story, or not a story, I don't mean to say like, something gimmicky. I mean, have a concept, have an idea of exactly what it is you want to say. Even if it's just a landscape or whatever, maybe all that really moved you was the flow of light, or in this case, I love the soft color and the soft feeling of these peaches. So what I want to do is really capture that. So everything I do, knowing that that's my concept, everything I do has to hinge on that one relational aspect of this painting. What is it that I loved? Well, I loved the soft lighting. Can I get that? I have to keep it in my head. I have to keep it right here. And sometimes I've even hung Post-it notes right here just to help me with keeping that in mind, especially if the painting is more complex. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking for all the places that I can lose edges, because this painting is going to hinge on lost edges, because that creates a feeling of soft, fuzzy soft peaches. And that's not just a technique you learn from painting a lot of peaches. It's just something that you pick up on in that concept of storytelling. Just isolating those things that are going to be really important in the process here. I like how some of those edges are lost, and I might even just let them be lost for good, blending them into the background. All right, I think I'm ready to jump in with some color, so let's get going on that. Obviously I started on the shadows, so I'm gonna work on some of that first. Taking a big glob of alizarin crimson. And remember, my shadows are warm, so I'm gonna keep them warm. I'm taking yellow ochre, and I'm just gonna paint those two together on my palette. I never want to mix them like it's pancake batter, because I feel that a lot of that artistic quality is lost when you just, I know a lot of people like to mix with palette knives, and they'll mix all their colors before they start painting, and to me this is half the process, is that artistic decision making that goes into the mixing. Okay, so I'm going to jump in. Again, working on this first peach here, I'm laying down just the soft, quiet piece of shadow here as it comes down. I'm still using just the same brush. I could switch to a bigger one, and I probably will and should. But for now, it's just right here. So I like that. And again, this is an area here where I'm going to lose that edge. So I'm going to kind of lose that to the background already. Like that. All right. I think I'll use some of that same mixture up here where I see this peach coming down. And I'm not going to worry about the fuzz on that peach yet. I see that beautiful grayish taupe color that I will get in there eventually. But I will let it do its thing here, and then I will scumble over the top. I hope that makes sense. Let it do its thing. What do I mean by that? Just the color. I'll let the color sit, even though it's highlighted on this side. I'm just going to let that sit, and then I will glaze, scumble a highlight over that. Mm-hmm. Especially in the beginning stages of a painting, it's difficult to speak at the same time. So I use my art speak. Don't really know what I'm saying. All right. Yeah, that feels okay. Getting over to this peach here. I think I want more alizarin in that, in the shadow. I work with a very limited palette because I like the simplicity. I don't have to stretch my brain when I'm trying to remember everything else and to have 47 colors out here. There's no way I could say, oh yeah, well I used about 6 colors to mix that, when I can just, I only have 4 or 5 choices. How did I get that? Well, here's what I did. For teaching, I've been teaching art for over 20 years, and I find that the simpler you can keep things, the faster people can catch on, and I think it just makes a lot more sense that way. I'm going to just pop in some of these darker accents in here, because I really like that back there. It's pretty. All right, let's go over to this one, which is mostly just an alizarin. I see a really beautiful, clean piece of alizarin crimson on there. And there's that gray fuzz down here that I can't wait to get. Again, I'm squinting at my still life. You probably can't, of course you can't see it, but I squint down at here to just simplify things and see these solid masses of color. It flattens things too when you can squint down at something. And so if it looks like I'm jumping around my painting, it's because I do that on purpose. It keeps it unified. I can work in this whole area using, if I see the specific color that I have mixed up, I'll just put that wherever I see it. It just, it makes it faster, and it helps with efficiency. All right, I'm pretty satisfied with those darks, so now I'm going to go into my middle tone range, and for that, as I've been sitting here looking at it, I see more, this is cadmium red light, and I'm going to take some cadmium yellow pale. I'm just going to paint those 2 colors slowly and carefully together. I think I will take a little alizarin and just keep it next to there. That alizarin is going to cool that down so it's not quite so like on fire vibrant, as well as adding a little bit of white. White will neutralize and calm that down a little bit. So I think that that's getting there for that. Yeah. So that's what I do, is I'll just put a mark down, and if I don't like it or it's not right, you just go back and you fix it a little bit, and I keep my paints here and I just paint them together. I don't paint the whole thing, just a little bit. Oh, I like that. Here you can, yeah, that's getting close. So that's what I do, just to keep it really simple. And all of these peaches are going to have a very soft edge on them. Some will be lost, but some will be just really soft, because if you have a sharp edge, especially on a peach, it'll start to feel a little bit more like a nectarine. And I have some nectarines. I thought about putting one in there just to show you how we'll handle that differently, but decided not to. Nectarines have a brighter shine, and that's about it. But the peaches have a soft, fuzzy edge, and that will give it a beautiful texture. Squinting at that, I see a little bit more pinky tones. So I'm just taking that alizarin crimson I had and a little bit more white. And yeah, maybe I'll take some of this cad red and some white, and I'll make a separate little pile of this warmer pink. See, one is warmer and the other one's cooler. Yeah, that kind of needed that. Okay, as it moves down, I'm seeing it pick up some of the warmth of the surrounding area. And over here. Since I have that on my brush, I see it up here as this darker passage wraps around. It's kind of lined with this really pretty, intense passage. Just get that. Yeah, that's really nice. I like that look. Okay, and I see it over here. Squinting to keep things simple. Before I started filming here, I was studying the works of Chardin and his beautiful peaches. It's so gorgeous. Taking a little bit of cad red and some alizarin just to get a nice cleaner passage right in here. And where this highlighted or shadowed area meets where it comes around and sees the light over here, has a nice clean, beautiful piece of color. Taking alizarin. And so far, I haven't used any linseed oil. I've just been keeping it. The paint that I use, the brand is called Gamblin, and I like it so much because it's so consistent from all the tubes. I hardly ever need very much medium. I would use medium if, it gets stiff, or sometimes I'm out in the cold. When I say medium, I mean linseed oil. If I'm out in the cold or the conditions are colder, the paint will want to get stiff. So I will keep the linseed handy to just dip a teeny bit in. And I really just dip the tip of my brush in and mix it in, because if you get too much, then you have to add more paint, and you're adding to that mixture to try to make it the right consistency. So you don't want to, you want to go too little in the beginning. And as you saw, once I'm painting, I no longer use the Gam salt except to clean my brush. Right, as this comes around, I've got a shadow there. And I will refine some of these shapes a little bit more too as I go by using the background. Looking at that. So far, this is still just the middle tone range, and I'm just keeping it really simple. Like that. Okay. I noticed that color that I have going into the shadow here was too light, and it was killing that strong shadow passage. Okay. Oops, a little bit back in here. not blocking things. There is one back here. I'll put a little bit, I'll suggest that back there. Okay. Okay, that comes up like this. Down, angled. The little pointy thing is right in there. I'll pull that out a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to get some of the highlights in here. Okay, so I'm looking at that and I see Cad Yellow Pale. I'm going to grab the smallest amount of blue because I see a really subtle greenish tint to that. So that's what I have going on here, and I think I'll add some white. I'm cleaning that off. That's still pretty vibrant. Let's get some more white in there. Just painting that in. Yellow is so strong, and if you buy a really good quality, it will really dominate. Let's see what I have here. That might be better up there. Nope, still need a lot more white. So I'm just putting it way over here instead of mixing it all up with everything, grabbing my teeny dot of blue. So, oh yeah, that's better. That's more greeny. Green peach tone. Since these are the highlighted pieces, I have to be very, very careful with how I lay them down. Just laying and careful, letting my brush strokes help to soften the passages of where one color meets another color. Instead of blending, going with the blending, I hate that word even. I just don't like to be blending. I will lay down one piece of color next to another piece of color slowly and carefully. And you just lighten up a little bit on the touch of your brush to let the colors mix, just a little. You don't need very much mixing. Like that. And again, it's a peach, so anytime there's a sharp edge, it's not going to convey the feeling of fuzzy, soft peaches. So you want to, I will come back through here and soften things a little before I'm done. Picking up pieces of paint, and I'll just scoop that with my brush. And I want to lay down that nice pass right there. Cleaning that off. I have my napkin right here, a paper towel. Nice light touch. Okay, I think that that's fine for now. Yeah, that feels fine. All right, this one. And in a situation like this painting, I'm always looking for ways to connect things and keep them all united. It'll create more of a cohesive feel for the whole painting if each little element has a means of connecting to the next one. Yeah, I don't mind that this one is a little bit yellower and greener, just a little touch of blue in there. I like a little bit of variety, and these are white peaches, by the way. So this line that I put on there is just directional. It was there to help me kind of isolate where that crease in the peach is. So I don't want a strong going off that way. I'll just soften that a little. All right, gonna grab some of that peach color back in here because I see that I made that too wide of a gap. And just for you YouTubers, in case you're not aware, I put all these paintings on my website, jessicahenryfineart.com, and they are available for purchase. I keep them these really reasonably priced too, because I like the idea of being able to comfortably purchase the teacher's painting. Or, student. I go to workshops, and I love that we can buy the instructor's paintings, because you remember the lessons more when you can have the actual painting, and you can say, "Oh, I remember the different things they were saying." And so I like to make them accessible. All right, that's coming around. Okay, that feels good. Liking that. And I think I'm just going to take some of that lighter tone here that I had and just do a little into the shadow. And same thing with right here. All right, a little more green in this area. And same thing with up here. Like that. Okay, moving along. Now again here, I'm just taking a really soft touch and just kind of losing some of these passages into shadow. Keeping that quiet. Like that. A lot of times we don't recognize what makes a painting beautiful. Sometimes we don't, because the artist has handled different parts of it so well that it's just fun to look at. And one of the things that I always try to strive for is my edges. We don't really notice them right away, so I try to be cognizant of how I'm handling those. And I'll clean it up more when I do the background. Alright, so getting to this one, and this peach front is mostly in shadow over here, so I've added some more blues to that. Maybe I'll do a little bit of yellow ochre, you can see, to this one right here. Yeah, that's better. It'll still feel like the white part of the peach, but it's mostly in shadow. Comes around down here. Okay. All right, so just gonna hit that little stem thing up in there a little darker than it was. Like that. It really pushed it down in there. Like that. I've noticed that I don't have much of that glow right here that I really want to get, so I'm going to pull that out just a little more. And this shape is going to need some work, and again, I'll do that with the background. Getting in some more of that highlight over here. I hope that this is an enjoyable video. I'm having fun painting these. And it's always such a treat to see that you guys are enjoying them, so I really appreciate that. If you like them, go ahead and like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. And oops, where am I going? This is just a softer pink that I have that I'm working on right in here. Kind of a more of a mauve neutral tone. All right, now this guy back here. I see the smallest sliver of that color back here. I'll pop that up with a little bit of highlight. And that one. I know some of these details are harder to see on the videos, so I try to keep them to a minimum because it's kind of, you know, it's hard to see, and I get that. So I'm just fixing this shape here. Okay, now I'm going to work on some of the fuzz that I was so excited to get at. So the fuzz is really just, I take ultramarine blue, a little burnt sienna. Those two colors mixed together will give you a really nice gray if you add some white to that. And I look over there and that's pretty much exactly the color of that fuzz. So I'm going to kind of wipe most of it off my brush and just get a little bit of it. And right in here is where I see the first pass. And I just swipe that up really softly. And go back through and kind of glaze that down into the shadow. Down this way. Maybe even just do a little bit of finger painting. And I'll do some over here. Like that. Let's hit that up a little bit harder. And this one is picking it up from the table surface, so I'll go right here. This is why I mix big piles of paint, because I hate it when I run out. So I'll get a little more and make that up. Glaze that on. And then over here where the little point was, really soft. If I was doing this on my own without doing a video, I would be taking more time. But I am trying to work quickly because I know that these videos, it's important to keep them a little shorter. Holding this way. Just working in really delicate little layers as it comes up to the point. Okay. This needs to be softer. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go through with my background and kind of clean that up. How am I doing for time? Okay, doing good. Okay, background. Let's just keep it that close to that fuzzy color. So I'm going to take ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and some yellow ochre. Maybe more blue than ochre because I don't want it too warm. So this is a good shadow color that I'm going to get right now. Just painting that on where I see the shadows. I'm not worried about the transition edges from shadow to highlight at this moment. Right now I just want to get this color down. Okay, like that. And it's stronger right under the peach, over here. And then it fades off pretty quickly to lighter back there. So if you have any questions while I'm doing this, please feel free to ask. I will do everything I can to address those questions as I am able to. This is my sort of halftone shadow color, and I see it back here in between all these peaches, so I'm going to squeeze it in back there, picking up a little bit of that highlight in front. All right, and a little back here. All right, now I'm switching to a little bigger brush, and I'm going to get some of the highlights of the tabletop and the lighter passages of the background. So I'm just taking a lot of white and a little yellow ochre, just mixing up a nice pile here. You can see that. I think I'll grab a little bit of the gray because I don't want it to be glaring. So now this is the part that I really like because things really start to pop at this point. And again, this is also where I'm going to start really playing with the edges even more. Thinking about the surface of that table and how it comes out just straight out that way. And get this up in here. This back here is not getting as much light hitting it, so I am going to keep my background back here less than what I have going on the tabletop because it needs to be in the background. A good background is one that you don't notice. All its job is to support what's going on in front. Since this side of this peach is lit, I'm going to make this side of the background a little bit darker of this peach. And then on the shadowed side over here, it's going to be really subtle, but I will make the background a little bit lighter, and that will make that peach just really stand out from the background. So over here, the shift in value is so subtle because I don't want, you're kind of like a magician, you know, you don't want people to look at it and know all your tricks, right? It has to feel right. That's all we're looking for. Get some of that off my brush, it's kind of heavy. Clean this up. And pull that out a little bit further to the edge. I'm not really worried what's going on in the background over here with all the drapery and other stuff. To me, that's completely irrelevant. So I'll just weed it out. I've got just a little bit of light coming through there. I want this a little darker back in here. Just a little. Okay, feeling like we're pretty close, but what I'm going to do now is just go back through and really concentrate on the edges, like at the beginning when I was talking about losing different edges and softening things and all of that. So to do that, I'm going to switch brushes and go with, I think I will just use I'll just use this one. This is a size 6 flat. So what I'm going to do is just go through and clean up some of these contours where they need it. And again, just losing edges completely. So my first step is cleaning up the contours. I'm just going to set my palette down because I don't need it very much anymore. And get a fresh paper towel. At this point, I'm going to be wiping my brush off a lot too. So what I did with that little flick is I put atmosphere in between this peach and this peach, just a little like that. Just a little bit. Light that up, clean it a little bit. Connect this peach to this peach. Again, looking for all those ways we can unite things. It's always good to connect. Pulling this background right up to the skin of this peach. Pulling this back. So I enjoy doing these videos, but really you do get a lot more from the classes. And if you go to my website under links, I have a link. I have just a few spots left in my Tuscany workshop in September. So that is just about full, but you could still look that up if you're interested in more of these. I always put so much into my workshops and classes. We have a good time. We laugh a lot. But they're intense. I like to just make sure that everyone walks away with having the tools that they need to do whatever they want, as much as possible. So we cover, portraits, still lifes, landscapes in those workshops. Good stuff. I don't claim to be an expert, but we work hard at trying different stuff. All right, now I'm gonna go just lose that to the background. Same thing with this passage. Just kind of soften that, make it a little less obvious. And right down here. I know that's sort of a stylistic thing. It's just one thing I like to do sometimes. I think they're feeling soft and fuzzy, but one last little thing I'm going to do before I wrap this up is get my clean brush, clean it up. Just going to go back through and pop in a little bit brighter patches of just some fuzz in places, just to really push that a little more. Clean it up. And where that connects. saw a passage over here. Like that. And this one back here isn't really getting that much TLC, so let's give it a little bit. Going to scoop up some bright, clean, pure color just to lay it down right in here. Sometimes it just needs a little pop, just a little kick right there. And just that little energy boost. That's all it needs. All right. Well, I feel good about it, and I hope that it was a fun one and that you enjoyed it as well. I wanted to thank you again for joining me today. My name is Jessica Henry, and if you have any questions, just go ahead and leave a comment in the section down below, and you can look up my website and contact me there at jessicahenryfineart.com. And if you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, thanks guys. Bye-bye.